Hello, everyone. Welcome to a KE Report webinar. I'm your host, Corey Fleck. I appreciate all of you for joining us. This is going to be a fun webinar as I'm joined by Volt Lithium, featuring this company, soon to be Liberty Stream Infrastructure Partners. Alex Wylie, the president and CEO, is joining me. Usually on these webinars, we go through sometimes a long company presentation, an overview of the company. This is a straight Q&A with Alex. Thank you, everyone, for already sending in your questions. We have close to 50 questions to get through. Hopefully, Alex will be able to address some of them at once, so we don't need to spend time on each and every question. But all of you joining us, you do have the ability to ask questions live throughout this event. Please just use that Q&A feature within this webinar platform to ask those questions, and I'll work them in as they fit into the discussion. Alex is joining us live from the oil fields in Texas. So, Alex, thank you very much for joining us, and thanks for taking some time to address all these questions that have come in. Volt Lithium is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol VLT and the OTCQB under the symbol VLTLF. Now, Alex, just as an opening statement here, provide a little bit of an overview of the company and tie in the strategy here of Volt Lithium, again, soon to be Liberty Stream Infrastructure Partners.
Well, thank you, Corey. Thank you for inviting me on today. And thank you for everyone who's joining. I really do appreciate everybody joining and the support that you've provided Volt in the past. And before we get into the Q&A session, Corey, I just wanted to lay a little bit of the foundation of Volt, where we've come from and our strategy and what we want, where we're going. I think what's so important about Volt, but when we started up the business, is we focused on if we're going to be in the lithium extraction industry, direct lithium extraction, we want to extract the lithium ourselves. And what that meant was developing our own technology to do the lithium extraction. It starts with chemistry, Corey. It's a chemical reaction. We've got a team of PhDs that help build our novel media to do the lithium extraction. Where that took us is it allowed us to develop a proprietary operating system. We focused on chemistry first to be followed by engineering. And that's just so important because what we've seen is we don't use columns. Most other groups in the industry use columns. We've got a novel process that's scalable. I mean, Corey, 18 months ago, we were in the lab. Now I'm down in Texas. We've built an operating system. We're operating in the field every day. And we're really proud of that. We're not only proud of that, but we're also proud from the support of our partner who's really helped us along. And we're also proud of the state of North Dakota. I mean, the state of North Dakota has backed us by giving us government grants, and we're the only group that does direct lithium extraction that the state of North Dakota has backed. It comes back to then, well, what's our strategy? Our strategy has been to lock up key producing basins in the US. I mean, the Permian, it does 19 million barrels a day. That is the largest source of water in the US. The Bakken does 2 million, not as large, but it's so strategic in terms of that basin. So what we've done as a business is we've really focused on locking up basins that produce a lot of water. We see a huge opportunity for the lithium industry in the US, and our focus has been lock up basins and get operating in the field. This business, Corey, it's cutthroat. Like down in Texas, you've got major players like Exxon and recently Chevron that are announced that they're getting into lithium extraction. For us, it's just so critical. We've got to be quiet, we've got to be nimble, and we had to get to the field. So we've been a little bit lower key about announcing partners, and that's strategic. Our focus is on building, and the plan is to build and be strategic. At the right time, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of announcements, but right now, we're really focused on making sure that we can operate in a strategic manner. A lot of people have been asking, well, why the name change? Why go to Liberty Stream? When I look at what we've done as a business, Volt, we started off, it was more junior mining with property. As we've evolved, we really are focused on technology and partnering with major infrastructure players in the US. That, I believe, is the fastest way to get to lithium production. Just for us, if we had to build all our own infrastructure, develop reservoirs, drill wells, the cost would just be ridiculous. So we focused on partnering so that we can get to production faster. And there's the final thing I just want to mention is our customer strategy. We're focused on supplying American industrial customers. Corey, there's a huge void here. I mean, there's no lithium production there's no domestic lithium production here in America. What I've seen is these American customers, industrial customers, they've been operating for a long time and they're going to continue to operate for a long time. We want to be a reliable supplier to the American customers. So we've got to focus on strategy from a nimble operating perspective and also customer strategy. Corey, on that, look forward to our Ask Me Anything approach today.
Oh, let's get into some of these questions then. You did address the company name change here, really just rebranding to outline the strategy of the company. Since this is all about the DLE technology, give us some insights in what distinguishes this DLE technology and can it be used for other critical minerals?
Well, our technology focuses on creating a dynamic environment where our media can interact with the lithium in the brine. Now, to date, we're completely focused on lithium extraction. Are there other critical minerals that we could go after? There are, but today we want to be straight line focused. We've got a demand from the customer base that is substantial. We want to focus on supplying that customer base lithium.
Okay. Now this DLE technology, we hear of other companies with DLE technology trying to advance it. Seems like Volt, you guys are more focused on the oil field brines. Talk to us about how this technology is strictly focused on the oil field brines in that market.
Yeah, and that's fundamental. I mean, when we started, the team that I've got, we're all originally from the oil and gas industry. We recognize the needs of the oil industry. We understand produced water from the oil industry. Like I mentioned, the Permian produces 19 million barrels of water a day. We know what we want. There's a significant source of lithium from that produced water. I mean, 19 million barrels a day is the equivalent of 190,000 tons of lithium per annum. I mean, that would make us the largest company in the world. The focus on oil fields, the focus on partnering with people that have infrastructure significantly accelerates our business.
Now, is this technology, is it patented? Is it defensible in any way? Or is it just simply so unique to the company that I guess no one could steal it or take it from you?
Yeah, so what we've done from a patent perspective is we are at the stage where we're at is patent pending. So the challenge you have when you file patents is you've got 1 year while you're on confidential. And so the strategy that we've taken is that until we are in commercial operations, we're going to be very careful about releasing those patents. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we stay so low key and we're not announcing a whole bunch with partners and whatnot. Strategically, we have to be nimble and agile.
On that partner front, boy, I can't tell you how many questions I received on who is the partner? Why can't you disclose the name of the partner, especially this flagship partner that you have in the Permian? Alex, why can't we get more information on this company?
It's a strategy that we've taken, Corey, that for us to be nimble, we have to be low key. As I mentioned, you've got big players like Chevron and Exxon. I mean, if they see who we're operating, where exactly that we're operating, they'll figure out what we're doing. For us and for the shareholders, and as you know, I am the largest shareholders, I just think it's critical that we stay very nimble and quiet.
No, what about some
I
of
mean,
these
one of
other
the things,
large? Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
yeah, sorry, and just like, here's an example. I mean, it's so cutthroat out here. I mean, people know exactly, if people know where we are, I mean, there'll be drones. We see planes flying around. We just have to be so careful of what we're doing. We've got an opportunity to lead lithium extraction in America, and you just don't get this opportunity twice. And so I'm very, very careful about who we disclose. how we disclose it. We are in the field, we're operating, and we're very excited about where we are at right now.
Okay, Alex, your bandwidth is dropping a little bit off here, but I can still hear you okay. So anybody, if you're having trouble hearing them, just message in the chat. Otherwise, Alex, you talk about, all these other companies that are working on their own DLE technology, and you need to, in a way, it sounds like fly under the radar, but when can you sign some term sheet? When can you get more active out there and say, look, our technology is working. Now it's time to hit the gas pedal and actually use this, actually bring it to market?
So one of the things that we've made a strategic decision on was redomiciling, moving to America. We changed our name to Liberty Stream Infrastructure Partners. We believe that when it comes to signing term sheets, announcing partners, we also have to be strategic with our capital. What we've seen is by operating in the US, working with US customers, working with US partners, it opens up a lot of capital sources that you wouldn't get in Canada that are non-dilutive. And we believe strategically Americans want to support Americans. They want to support American domestic production. And that's just fundamental to what we're doing. So we've got a full plan in terms of what we're strategically trying to do. But first, it's performance, operate in the field, show performance, and demonstrate that we can extract lithium from oil field ground. We've been operating since February. We're proud of what we've done since February. I know everybody wants to be faster and sooner. So do I. We have to do it right. It's one shot to be able to responsibly produce lithium in America. We're in the field today, and our plan is to continue to be smart about how we're doing it.
Well, you're trying
Again,
to do something unique here, right? You're trying to produce lithium from oil field brines, but it's all about your partners then. The partners that you're working with, do you foresee building out your partner base? Can you work with more companies in the oil fields?
we absolutely can. And that's when you look at what we're doing strategically, we're now in two basins. We're in the two largest basins. And I think that it's also relevant that when it comes to field production, in the oil field in particular, I just don't know anyone that is larger than us right now. We're working real time in the field. I mean, we're extracting lithium today. And so it's so critical that what we needed to show and what we need to show when we start looking at strategic types of capital that's non-dilutive in the US, you've got to have the performance behind it. If you rush too much to start announcing all kinds of things, sometimes you can put the cart before the horse. What we've done is being strategic all along. We've been advancing our the business. We've gone from the lab to the field, and we've been putting up results. And we're getting validation. I mean, the state of North Dakota, as an example, from a government body, just doesn't back anybody. We've been operating with our partner. It's very strategic what we're doing, and we're proud of where we are.
Since you mentioned you're in two different oil field basins, do you see expanding into other basins, or do you see focusing just on one of the two basins?
Our focus is on extracting lithium from oil field brines. That's what we've proven. We've extracted lithium from oil field brines, not only in these two basins, but others. We haven't announced anything yet. We are very confident that our technology, which is tailored to extracting lithium from oil field brines, is applicable to multiple basins. And we will continue to show that as we continue to build the business out.
Now, how do you show this? I'm going to move a question higher here because it keeps getting answered. Is that you keep saying that you're going with this low key strategy, but everyone's wondering, how long are you going to be low key for? When can you start moving forward more? Is it more testing? Is it running? Is it just time? What are the factors here that are, I guess, keeping you in this low key strategy?
I mean, Corey, I wish I could talk about all our confidential strategies that we're developing right now. I'm hopeful that what people are seeing is that we continue to move the business forward. I mean, 6 months ago, we weren't in the Bakken. By the end of June, we're going to have our field test in the Bakken. So we continue to advance the business. I mean, the challenge you've got when you're in my situation as the CEO of a public company is, I just can't lay out all the strategies yet. But hopefully, what people are seeing from the press releases that we've been putting out is that we continue to advance the business.
Regarding that Bakken mobile unit, then talk to us about capacity, commissioning date, scale up roadmap, all the factors of what's going into that unit.
Yeah, so the purpose of that unit, similar to what we did in Texas, we started off with a small unit, and that's what we're showcasing in the Bakken. Um, we've had good results in our R&D center for testing Bakken brine, and now we're going to do it in the field. And so what we do is a measured approach to scale up. We're confident based on what we've done in Texas that we can scale up. So this is for the Bakken isn't about can we scale up in the Bakken. This is about demonstrating to the state and key constituents that we can do it in the field, and then we will continue to advance the business from there. I wish I could get into everything. It's just there's a lot of proprietary things that are happening right now.
Can you tell us about the capacity then, or what even the startup rate will be when you're in the Bakken and when it's operational?
Yeah, so what we've done, and we've been pretty clear about this, is it's a field test unit. And so this is not to go into production with this unit. Similar to what we did when we first came into Texas, we came in with a small unit to demonstrate that we could extract lithium from brine. We checked that box and then we expanded the business. We're going to follow a similar strategy in North Dakota. So this is about proving that we can do it in the field, and then eventually we're going to continue to expand. We're very excited about the opportunity in both basins. And effectively what we're doing by going to the field in the Bakken is just like anyone can do it in an R&D center. When you get out into the field, when you're in live environment, you can demonstrate to people proof that yes, we can do it in the field in both.
Now, do you expand overseas? A few questions have come in on that basis. Do you go into other, even Saudi Arabia, major oil producing countries or different basins?
Today, what I'm focused on is I want to translate production success into customers. We've got customer demand in the US. We've got more demand that we can handle. That's a great position to be in. We understand the Texas basin, we understand the Bakken. I would rather be very strategic in our focus before looking overseas. We've got an opportunity to have significant growth here in the US. I don't want to dilute our opportunities.
Okay. So you're sticking to the US. Okay. That's very clear. On the commercialization front, your, I guess, relationship with your partners in terms of how you could recognize revenue. A question asked more the royalty or streaming share of the lithium production. What does that look like? And can you, as the partner risk declines, garner more of that?
Yeah, so again, we haven't gone in publicly to what our venture, what we're going to look like with our partner. Um, I will start by saying we're really proud of the support of our partner. I mean, they've helped us out significantly. It's one thing to say, okay, put a unit down into Texas. It's another one to build it and to operate it. And so we've had a lot of support from our partner. When it comes to looking at revenue streams or future partner opportunities or what the splits look like, I mean, that will really, it depends on capital deployed. If we deploy more capital, we'll get more of the revenue stream. We look to operate each of our facilities. And so as we start to continue, or as we continue to expand our program and realistically access non-dilutive strategic capital in the US, then we can be more aggressive in terms of what we do from a revenue stream perspective.
Now, is there a risk or a potential that once you, I guess, prove this technology out more with your partners, that they simply say, look, this is all about technology. Who cares how much we've put into this up to this date? We're either A, just going to take you over, or does it turn into a licensing agreement?
The philosophy has always been our core business is lithium extraction from produced water. What we've seen from players out here is they focus on their core business, and their core business isn't lithium extraction. What we've seen is that groups would rather partner with us, with Volt, soon to be Liberty Stream, as the operator, so that they can focus on their core business as well. Where that eventually goes, I can't say, but today we've got a lot of comfort by partnering and us being the operator.
Well, and it is also end goal here, making money, bringing in revenue, right? So if you can bring in revenue for the other company, you need to get some of that too. But when could we see some meaningful revenue from the operations that are ongoing or any sort of scale ups that happen, hopefully in the near term or who knows, into the next few years?
Yeah, and I mean, what we see is in the US, we're operating in the field today. I don't see anyone with the size of operations that we've got that are in the field today. What we don't have to do is spend all that capital costs on infrastructure. And that's fundamentally different. I mean, if we had to go out there and drill our own wells, build our own infrastructure, I mean, you look at a lot of other lithium companies and what they need to get their first production started, you're in the billions. We're not, because that infrastructure is in place. So our target is to be nimble, be strategic, and I mean, I want, as the largest shareholder, I want to get into revenue as soon as possible as well. But you have to, in my opinion, it's critical to be measured. So as you're starting to look for non-dilutive sources of capital or other opportunities, you've got to show performance. And that's what we're doing right now. Performance is everything. Show a track record of being able to extract lithium. I mean, I wish that you go out in the field, you operate for a month, and then you can start to show it, then you can get off the ground. People want to see, can you do this over a period of time? And that's what we're proving out right now. I'm really proud of the team's achievements and where we've come to so far. And I'm really looking forward to continuing to expand on our operations here in Texas, soon to be operations in North Dakota, so that we can demonstrate that we can build this business strategically going forward.
Okay, so it does sound like it is a bit of a time thing then. Your partners want to see consistent, I guess, production, consistent performance of this technology. But how much time do they need? Do they need years, multiple years? Do they need a decade? Or do they need just a few more months? How are we ever going to know that?
I mean, you have to look at our track record of what we've done so far. And when I say strategic capital, I'm looking at other types of, when you're dealing, say, with a government organization or some other group like that, their timelines are a little bit different. Not to say they're too long, but you've got to, when we're looking at strategic non-dilutive capital going forward, we want to be smart in our performance. Again, we've made a lot of progress on where we're at. I don't think we're in the category of years. I mean, we've got operations now. So I believe people will see as we continue to advance our business, as we become more American, we really start to advance our business. It is very important. I mean, I'm proud to be a Canadian. I'm proud of what we've done in Canada. I just know that strategically, by operating in the US, by becoming an American company, we've got access to sources of capital that we just wouldn't otherwise get probably as fast. You might be able to get it because we're critical minerals, but by operating on US territory, it really enhances our story and our case.
Okay, so this advancement then, you're already in the field. If you have more access to capital, does that mean that you're scaling up operations? The 10,000 barrels per day module, the path to 100,000 barrels per day type of thing. What does this all look like in terms of scaling up on the business side rather than consistently proving that you can produce lithium at the current rates that you're operating at now?
I mean, one of the things that is critical to look at is it's one thing to produce lithium, it's another to get customers. And producing lithium is one side of the coin, getting customers is the other. It's a process to get customers. When you're dealing with them with industrial customers, it's very different than the car companies. But it's producing, consistency, and then scaling up. And it's scaling up sample size and what you're doing. So what we're doing, Corey, is a very methodical approach to making sure that well, it's great if you can produce 100,000 barrels a day, but can you sell the lithium? And so it's equally as important to focus on the customer side as it is on the production side.
Okay, we haven't talked about the customer side. Let's go there then. Who are the target customers and what are you doing in terms of that sales side? We keep hearing about the technology and all the PhDs that are within the team there, but if sales are this important, which it does make sense, you want to generate some revenue here, what are you doing on the sales front?
Well, what's critical is customers want to get samples. Can you meet their technical specifications? And again, we're focused more on the industrial type customer in America than say specifically to start the car companies. It would be naive of us to start with the car companies. The what they require from a volume of lithium produced is significant. There are a number of groups that don't need the same volumes as the car companies that we can achieve revenue sooner with. What we need to do from a process perspective, they need to see technical samples from the field. They need to see that we can actually produce in the field. They need consistency in the field. Now, the flip side of that is when we're looking at potential customer contracts, it's not spot contracts that we're ultimately looking at. We want to work with groups that have been accessing or requiring lithium for a long time historically and are going to require it for a long time into the future. What that means is longer customer contracts and stability in terms of our ability to provide the specs that they need. One of the things that I think is so important from a customer perspective. So when I look at our operating model and the opportunity that we have, we tie into existing infrastructure. And so that means there's 19 million barrels a day of production here in the Permian, but it's not all from one site. There's multiple sites, hundreds of sites where you get access to water. So what we're trying to do is tailor production from sites to customer needs. Other groups, other lithium companies are building, called say a 30,000 ton central facility. I'm not sure that's ultimately the right approach to go. It may be, but what we're tailoring is on customers that can we can meet the demand that customers need on a smaller scale basis because they're not the largest customers. Now, at some point, will it be the car companies? It's quite potential it will be. Then you've got a strategy where you've got to have more facilities dedicated to a single group. My view is be smart about how you do your growth, be smart about how you get your customers, make sure you can achieve and hit their demand so that you've got a stable supply on an ongoing basis. There's a lot of words that I put into that comment there, Corey. Suffice to say, there are a lot of customers that require lithium in the US. It's not just a few. And so we want to make sure that we can diversify our customer base and be smart about how we do our growth. And so it's a process.
So, if the first step of that process is delivering samples to these potential customers, which it sounds like there's a wide range of, have you been delivering samples?
Yeah, let's just say high level. I mean, we've been producing out here for a while. And so, our strategy is to make sure that people have samples, consistency, and then continue to grow the sample size so we can enter into contracts. I can't speak specifically what we've done for people as that's not in the public marketplace. But what I can say is that we've got a strategy that's methodical and it's being accepted.
So, you're at the early stage of that strategy then? Because it sounds like you're delivering samples, but you're not saying it.
You know what, Corey? I wish I could talk about every single piece of our business right now. Suffice it to say, and hopefully what we've demonstrated over the last couple of years in our press releases is that we're methodical to our approach, and we're methodical about. We were started in the lab. We built an R&D center. We went to the field. We scaled up in the field 3 times. We're now in another field. We're going to scale up in that field. Our approach has been entirely methodical. When it comes to how we're going to address customers and other aspects of the business, we're using a very similar approach. We're methodical, and we want to make sure that we've got trust and consistency in what we're doing.
It looks like a lot of people want you to be less methodical or more upfront about stuff here, because that's a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing in terms of finding these customers, finding your end users or where the revenue would come from. Does that come in offtake agreements? Does that come in purchase commitments? What does that look like to bring in that revenue?
Yeah, what the customer base wants is they want to have reliable suppliers. And so the natural inclination when you've got reliable suppliers, you sign longer term deals. One of the questions that we don't have to answer that maybe other groups do is there going to be a source of lithium from the Permian going forward? Well, it's producing 19 million barrels a day. It's been producing for a long time, and there's been a lot of lithium that's been, disposed of to up to now that hasn't been extracted. We're taking advantage of that. So that's a key question that we don't have to answer. And so when it comes to reliability, we don't get the question, well, how do you know you can get a source of water? How do you know you're going to extract the lithium? And that's pretty fundamental in terms of our ability. That puts us so much further ahead than we would otherwise. Let's say we were trying to develop our own reservoir on our own. And so, when we're having this discussion about customers right now, I view that as a very evolved discussion with lithium. We're able to talk about customers because we're in the field and we're producing lithium today. And that's just so fundamental from a strategy perspective. If I didn't know if we were just into let's try and produce some lithium, my thought process wouldn't be evolved as far as it is in terms of how we actually sell the lithium, because that's just as important as the production.
You're right. It is. And that's what everybody wants to see, some revenue coming in, some, I guess, end result of this production. Can you give us insights then on a ballpark number? How much lithium are you producing per month, per week, whatever metric you could share with us in Texas or in either of the two oil field basins?
Yeah, and so what I would like from that perspective, Corey, like I've said, we've got a system that's operating. We're in the process of doing our business. We're in the process of extracting lithium. We're in the process of getting top tier performance of what we're trying to accomplish. Again, what I think is really relevant in terms of where do we stand? Where do we stand vis-a-vis other groups that are trying to do lithium extraction? We're in the field. And that's a major accomplishment, being in the field and operating the field. What I've seen from a lot of other groups are just not even close to that. It's new. Lithium extraction isn't new. Direct lithium extraction isn't new. So those two things have been done before. What is new is we're focusing on the US and we're focusing on oil field brines where we've tailored our technology. So I feel everybody wants to get into revenue as soon as possible, and so do I. And I guess what I will say is that we are focused and we are methodically putting our best foot forward. Again, I'm the largest shareholder. I'd like to be in revenue yesterday. But if you look at where we've come over the last 6 months, even the last 18 months, we've made significant strides in our business. And again, what we need to demonstrate for future customers and what we're doing is reliability of production in the field. And that's just a process and it just takes time. I wish I had a crystal ball for you right now, Corey, to say, you know what, we're going to do it in 10 days from now. But I just don't have that crystal ball. What I can say is there's a lot of excitement for what we're doing. And there's a huge demand and huge need for what we're doing. And it's measuring what we're doing and being smart about it. The one thing that is just so crucial is that we're nimble, we're in the field today, and we're very focused. And from where we've come from, we've really advanced the business a lot, and we will continue to make strides to continue to advance it.
So your comment on 6 months, you've made a lot of advancements in the field. What does that mean, though, in terms of production, in terms of reliability? When you talk about end customers want reliability, they want to know that you can produce X amount. Where are you at now? What is that X amount that you need to be able to show them that you can produce to get these contracts signed?
Well, let's look at it from maybe a bit of a different perspective, okay? The customer profile that we're looking at, your average customer wants anywhere from say 750 to 1,500 to 2,000 tons per annum. There's a few that may be larger. So what does 750 tons look like? Well, that's about 75,000 barrels a day of production. Okay. What does 1,000 tons look like? Well, that's about 100,000 tons of production. There are multiple facilities here that can produce that. Okay. Because saltwater disposal facilities where we get our water from, there's anywhere from 10,000 to 250 to 500,000. So it's not a question of being able to, so we're targeting our ability to work with customers and be consistent and also make sure that we're not biting off too much when we choose. So we're not going to choose, say, to work with someone at this point that needs 10,000 tons next year. I mean, that's just a significant amount. There's variability in terms of the demands from the customers. And so what we need to do is just be real smart about it. I mean, and it's a process. I'd rather tie up someone that does 750 or 1,000 tons and get 20 of those types of customers because we can provide a reliable product. Now, it is new, especially from direct lithium extraction in the US. And so it has taken a bit of time, but when you look at it in the grand scope of things, and I'll quote one of my board members because he came out here and he's commissioned a lot of mining projects in his career. And typically it's sort of 18 to 24 months to commission a mining project. Well, we're up and operating within 5 to 6 months. That's significant progress that we've made. And so it's not lost on me how much progress we've made. Like I said, do I always want to go faster? You bet I do. And hopefully what people have seen is we said we'd get out into the field this year. We got out into the field. We said we'd be building a system. We've built a system. And now it's making sure that we can match what we're doing to meet the future needs of the customers and tailoring the production so that people are satisfied. I know that sounds like I'm not giving a complete straight answer. There's just a lot that's going on behind the scenes right now that I just can't publicly talk about.
Okay, so in terms of all the production that you have already done to this point, do you have lithium in storage now? Has it all been delivered as samples? Give us some insights on that then. Essentially, potentially saleable or samples of lithium that could be sent out. What do you have?
So, I mean, what we've done is we've built a system that does direct lithium extraction out here. And do we have an inventory of lithium chloride that we've produced yet? So far, we are building an inventory. You bet we are. Now, ultimately, what you need to do from that lithium chloride is you need to turn it into a lithium carbonate or a lithium hydroxide. And so, we're very proud of what we've been able to do so far in terms of getting the hard part of lithium or anything to do with lithium is on the extraction side. And so we've got what we're doing in the field. We've got a small lab out in the field. We've got our R&D center back in Canada. And so we're taking what we've done from a ability to produce, and we've got the ability to do lithium carbonate right now. Small scale, but we've got the ability to do it. And so it's about getting that consistency and building out our process. Like I said, I'd love to talk about all the things we're doing right now. It's just there's just some things that are a little bit proprietary, and I'm not trying to avoid questions, Corey. I'm just the key for us and the key for anyone is can you actually extract the lithium, and that's what we've been doing in the field.
So, are there downstream steps that you need to do post extraction that are holding up the process or that you need to consider?
Well, ultimately, you create a lithium chloride, and that's an eluate, and then you convert that into a carbonate. And so are we doing the question is, are we refining in the field today? No, we're not. But step one is, refining's been happening for 40, 50 years. That's not the hard part. The hard part is being able to do the extraction. So we've made phenomenal progress. I mean, there's no point refining if you can't do your lithium extraction in the front end. So we've been entirely focused, and today we're really proud of what we've been able to do from a lithium extraction perspective. Again, a lot of people would say, we had a lot of questions from people saying, unless the lithium concentration is 100 parts per million, well, you can't extract the lithium. Well, we've been doing it. We've been doing it ever since we started the business. That's what we purpose built the business for. And so we're proud that we've been able to do that, and we continue to do that.
So, can you scale up? Are you going to be scaling up in the near term? If so, what does that look like? Let's take this bigger picture then. Let's start truly producing. Let's show that this works at a large scale. Is that coming?
Well, what we have to do is scaling up takes money. And again, I'm the largest shareholder. I don't want to dilute it. The fear for any company our size is completely diluting the shareholder base and destroying all value. I'm not prepared to do that. So what we have to do is be real smart about how we access capital and what type of non-dilutive capital that we're working from. Now, people say, well, have you had any access to non-dilutive capital? And I would say, well, we've received $2.5 million in grants so far from a field study. I mean, again, the state of North Dakota hasn't done that to anyone else. So we're being real smart about how we access non-dilutive capital as we grow our business. Can we scale it? I'm highly confident we can, but I'm not going to scale us at the risk of completely diluting all our shareholders.
So since it comes down to capital, you're right. You do need capital to grow. Two ways to get capital though. One, through sales, which I keep pushing you on, which I don't know when that's coming. Two, being either raising money or grants. Yes, you have some grants coming in. A lot of people are asking about that Alberta fund, specifically for DLE. Are you even going to be available, or is that going to be available to you if you do this shift down into the US?
Yeah, so why don't we just start with the front end of your question and or where you're coming from, and that's access to capital, right? And making sure we've got access to non-dilutive capital, and we've on a small scale we've demonstrated that we can get access to non-dilutive capital in the U.S. and we've deployed it. And what the state of North Dakota wants to see is some results from the unit that we're commissioning in the second half of June. So it's a process, and we're very proud that we've accessed capital. Now, when it comes to larger sources, you talk about customers, and I agree with you. Customers and getting revenue is a great way to get obviously access to capital. But what we need to do, let's take that customer that needs 1,000 tons or 100,000 barrels of processing. Well, that takes capital to get there. So there's a couple ways you can do that. You can do it through, grants. You can do it through non-dilutive government funding. You can do it through, financing offtakes agreements. You can do it through equity, right? What we need to do is be real smart about it. I mean, if we had $50 million in the bank right now, Corey, I mean, we would, you make different decisions than you do when you're a smaller company like us. So the key is when I look at any company is take a look at the management team. Has the management team built businesses before? Do they know how to do this? Are they going to be smart about it? Do they have a massive stake at this? And the answer to those questions, especially for what I've done in the past, is yes. So I'm going to be real smart about it. I mean, to get to where we've gotten to be in the field, I mean, you can look at other examples of companies that have spent hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, we've got there we've been very smart about how we do things, and we're in the field today. So when we look at customers and ultimately, signing an offtake agreement, absolutely that's one way of getting it, but you have to have the capital deployed to meet the requirements of that offtake agreement. So it's not as simple as just saying, hey, you know, I've got an offtake agreement now, I'm just going to sell. No, you've got to build to sell and you've got to invest to sell. So we've got to look at the spectrum of capital that's available. And again, it comes back to the latter part of your question asking about, funds in Alberta. And I think that's great source of capital for, people that are operating in Alberta. The challenge that you've got for those groups that are accessing that capital, well, they've got to build their own projects. We're not doing that. We've made a strategic decision that, in my view, it's better to be where we are, focus in US. There's deeper capital, there's more customers. Again, when you look at it from a customer perspective in Alberta, I just don't see it the way I do in the US. Everything's much deeper in here. So it's a matter of continuing to build out to get our access. Again, you look at the USA, they're very protective. You hear and I'm not playing politics right now, but we've heard clear statements from the government in the US, Trump, they want production in America. And so we're doing production in America. We're getting the trust of Americans. We're operating here. And I think that's going to pay off massive dividends for the shareholders of Volt, soon to be Liberty Stream.
Okay, I understand there is more money in the US. Fine, I get that. But how much capital is needed then to scale to let's just call it a commercially viable amount? How much money do you need? What ballpark number?
Yeah, I mean, what we've said in our presentation historically, and historically we've said to get to 100,000 barrels a day is about 20 million. That's what we've historically said in public. Okay. And what that 100,000 barrels a day is about 1,000 tons of lithium. Now, I don't believe that we're going to get the spot price in China for lithium is about 8,000-9,000 a ton. That's not what I'm seeing in America from a revenue perspective. So what we need to balance off with is it's not the spot price that we're going to get. It's what does a contract look like over a 10-year period, and what does the security of supply mean? What's the value of that supply? Okay, and so it's balancing off. It's not the spot price. It's not 70,000 a ton. So what is it in the middle? So when I talk about that example, okay, let's say you're at 20,000 a ton and you're making good margin. Well, that's your payback is maybe a year and a half, 2 years, right? Depending on what it looks like. That's not a long payback. Now, if we were trying to do our own greenfield operation in realms of reasonableness, I'd be a $500 million before I even get started with anything. So our ability to get into production is significantly lower than what you would see if we didn't have access to the infrastructure. So again, but I don't want to dilute the customer. I don't want to dilute the shareholders massively. I want to be smart about it and position Volt, soon to be Liberty Stream, to be smart about how we access capital and how we build our business. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and there's a lot of interest in what we're doing. We're getting a lot of credibility because we're operating in the field. When I look at most other groups out there, I just don't see other groups that are operating in the field on a day-to-day basis. And so while it seems like this is a very long process, it's actually in most terms, we're going exceptionally fast.
So can we get a number on what it'll cost to scale? Or I guess if you don't want to answer that, then are you capital constrained and can your partner help out with those capital commitments?
Yeah, so like I said, if you want, like looking at that 100,000 barrel a day opportunity, okay, we've historically said that's 20 million. Okay, 100,000 barrels a day, 1,000 tons. So 20 million it might get you 20 million revenue. We haven't negotiated contracts with it. It might be 25 million, it might be 15 million. Like we're in that process, but it's not 500 million. And so what we're doing is we're working with future customers so that we don't have to take on a $400 million commitment at the front end. We want to be real smart about it. Now, as we start to generate customers and we start to produce revenue, then you get a lot more types of capital that open up to you, because then you can tie existing contracts and existing cash flow to what you're doing. So, I'm not trying to be evasive here, Corey, but I will say to you that the numbers required to get into production are much lower than any other situation I've seen.
Hey, I get that. You are in production. Okay, I understand that. I guess if we talk economics then, in terms of what the production is now, even that path to 100,000 barrels per day, what do the economics look like in this environment where the lithium price is still kind of down in the dumps? Do you make money with what you're producing right now? I guess it's hard to say because you don't have any actual sales or contracts signed, but can you give us any unit economics and what it looks like now, what it looks like when you scale up?
Yeah, and so I guess let's look at it from this perspective. The key question is what's the price we're going to sell at? And I can't answer that today because I don't have an offtake. I can give realms of reasonableness in terms of where I think. And as I mentioned, it's not time which is the spot price. Customers that want a longer term supply agreement have to weigh the price of lithium in the future versus what it's trading at today. And if you want to get access to supply and access to American production of lithium, you're going to be paying more than what the spot price is. Remember, there isn't any lithium production here in the US. Now, there's some big projects that are underway, and that's going to be billions to get into production. But you can't count on spending billions and then getting your first lithium production. What we can do is we can say, look, this is what we're producing in the field, and this is what we talk about. This is what we're doing in the field today. We've got a system that's up and running. You're getting the samples from the field. So then translating that into future customer relationships, we are just so much further ahead than anyone else that I've seen. And that's why we're getting so much interest down here.
So is that a holdup in terms of signing offtake agreements or partners up for the sales side of things? Is it the pricing that you want them to lock into? Is it the upfront costs that you need to scale up? Are these even more so than just having a consistent supply, which yes, you've been in the field for a few months now. Are the capital costs and the pricing environment, are those the main holdups?
The number one is consistency of supply over a duration of time. It really is. And I wish I could make customers make decisions faster, but you know, people want consistency, and that's what we're really focusing on. And it just takes time. And again, we've been in the field for months. Other groups have been trying to get going for years. So I do feel like we've made substantial progress. Is it as much as everyone would like? We all want to be in production tomorrow. And I guess all we can look at in terms of, if you look at our past and our history, look how fast we got from the R&D center to the field to a scale up in the field. I mean, relative to groups that I have seen, I just haven't seen that amount of field production that anyone has done. So I feel like we're going on a very fast track. Could it be faster? You bet. Are we going to continue to accelerate the business? You bet we are. The key thing is getting out in the field where we are. I mean, I'm in Texas right now. I've been living down in Texas. I'm completely focused on getting our production going and making sure that we've got the methodical approach, because look, we all want to run fast, but the customers, if you're looking at a 10-year contract, they want a methodical approach. I mean, they rely on lithium for their business. So you've got to make sure that we can do that on a methodical basis. And again, we've come a long way in a very short period of time. Will we continue to move forward? You bet we will. Is it going to be the capital costs that others need? Like if you're developing something without the infrastructure in place, not even close.
I do give you credit. You've gotten in the field pretty quickly, and that's why I think so many people are wondering when the next scale up comes, when that 10,000 barrel per day unit can be online. Do you have any timelines on that? When could we see that 100,000 barrels per day?
Yeah, and I guess what we have to do, Corey, I mean, unfortunately, I can't give out non-public information right now, and I appreciate people want answers on it. And I guess in terms of looking at our past to where we go in the future, I would just say, look how fast we've accelerated to date, and look at what some of the other groups that have been around much longer than us, and look how fast they've accelerated, and look at the timelines that you see. I don't see anyone else in production. I mean, I hear 27 or 28, but when you're spending $3 billion at your project, 27 comes up real fast. We don't need that capital requirement. So again, there's a lot going on. I wish I could just give a crystal ball to everybody right now in terms of, how long is it's going to take. Again, I guess another message is there is no blueprint for lithium production in the US. And lithium's been produced and direct lithium extraction have happened. So that's not new. What we're doing is we're working with, a customer base that's stable, and we've got to make sure that we're stable as we continue to grow the business. That doesn't happen in a month. We're working as hard and fast as we can. I mean, if I wasn't committed and if we weren't where we're at, I wouldn't be living in Texas right now in the field.
Oh, fair enough. And I think, yes, you are right that being in the field, producing, that is key. That is unique. The thing is, everyone wants to see sales or something on the back end of that, so, some move forward. So, ramp up being one, so more production, or another, having some sort of sale, some sort of agreement on the back end of that. This does all tie into how much money you're spending, let's say, per month, though. Can you give us a general overview of what this is costing the company, your current production? If you're not generating sales on the back of that, how much money is being spent month over month, so we can get a handle on what the runway looks like for the company?
Yeah, I mean, we presented our financial statements, and so, you know, what we did in especially the first 3, 4 months of 2025 is we spent a lot of capital building out this unit and what we're doing. We were very fortunate with the state of North Dakota where they provided a grant, so we got access to funds so that we could build out the unit that we've got in North Dakota and make sure that, you know, a lot of the R&D work that we've done historically is captured in what we're doing. In terms of our burn rate right now, it's significantly lower. We only have a few employees on the payroll. We work with our partner, we work with their operating personnel. So we're managing our costs very well. You know, where we're at right now, we're fine. Where we need to get to is we've got to be strategic about when we look forward and we do our build out, what does that capital look like? And again, the capital cannot be just dilute the shareholders from an equity perspective. It's got to be strategic. We've got a track record now of getting grants in the US, which is, I think, fundamental. So we have the ability to access non-dilutive capital, and we will continue to be smart about how we do our capital and our build out and what, you know, the future looks like in the Bakken versus Texas. Again, the key I think that's really critical is that we are in the field and we've built out a unit. That puts us so much further ahead than anyone I've seen, and it gives us so much credibility when you start to look at future optics. The number one question people ask is, well, are you in the field? Are you producing? Can you give me product from the field? People don't want product from an R&D center. They want it from the field. And that's a significant accomplishment that the business has achieved in 2025 that puts us significantly ahead of what we've seen from a competitive perspective and also from a credibility perspective.
Okay. Yeah, now everyone is waiting again for when those partners say, "Hey, we like those samples. What does a commercial relationship look like?" Look, we are running a bit low on time here. I've been pushing you on a number of these subjects, and I see still a lot of the comments coming in, but I guess one good way to end this is short and long-term goals. The catalysts that investors can look for. What are those? What can investors build a checklist on and say, these are the short-term goals that the company wants to achieve. These are the long-term goals that move the business forward that hopefully relate to some sort of increase in share price.
I think the key from our perspective is continued execution on the business. Obviously, people will be looking for, can you access more non-dilutive capital? I think that's going to be important going forward. Can you sign an offtake agreement? I think that's going to be important going forward. That's important to me. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of shareholders here. Well, I'm a shareholder too. And I want to get into production. I want to get non-dilutive capital because I see the opportunity that we've got. And so we're in the field now. How do we accelerate? What do we look like over the 12 months? Again, I want to go as fast as possible, but also be methodical. And so my approach to building this business is take a look at the track record that you've seen. We went from a startup in the lab 18 months ago to being in the field now, and I'm going to continue to drive the business from the front. I mean, if I was sitting in Calgary right now and I'm a shareholder of Volt, soon to be Liberty Stream, I'd be saying, well, why are you in Calgary? Why are you not at your operations in the field? Well, I'm here. And that's critical because we can accelerate faster by being in the field. Is it a sacrifice? Potentially. My family would say so. But this is so critical. This is something that North America hasn't seen. And I'm driven to lead from the front and will continue to be driven to lead from the front. Again, I just go back to the fact that when we started talking about a partner last year, when we went into the field, people would say, okay, you're in Texas. Well, can you go into another basin? Can you get grant money? Can you do this? Well, we're in another basin. We do have grant money. We are getting support from American governments and our partners. And so we will continue to execute. I wish I had all the answers in a crystal ball. I wish it was a blueprint that you can just say, look, we're going to be here in 6 months and there in 5 months and there in a month from now. What I can say is we're focused. We're dedicated and we continue to accelerate. And we've accelerated more in the last 6 months than we did in the first 2.5 years. So if you look at that as a harbinger of success, you're going to continue to see us accelerate our business.
Okay, just to summarize then, at the end of this, to accelerate your business, I see three major catalysts that people keep asking about. That is one being the scale up, 100,000 barrels per day. Two being the funding sources, either coming from partners or non-dilutive government funding, grants, that kind of stuff. Or three being sales. What comes first in those three? How do those three fall in place for that acceleration of the business?
Well, it's got to be a combination of all, right? And that's the key. Because again, if I didn't care about dilution, then you know what? You just go out and you blow your brains out in a whole bunch of equity and not be smart about things. We are a small company. We've done a lot in a very short period of time. We've got respect. We are in the field. So it's a combination of all three, gaining the credibility from an execution perspective in the field, gaining the trust of customers so you can sign those offtakes, and gaining the trust of governments so that you can get access to non-dilutive capital. And by being in the field, showing that we've got non-dilutive capital, showing that we're in two different basins, I believe is going to pay off massive dividends for the shareholder base and the business overall.
All right, we'll wrap it up here then. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Please keep in touch with me on this story. You can email me directly at fleck@kereport.com. So that is FLECK at kereport.com. Curious your follow-up questions as well as your thoughts on this webinar. What else you want to learn more on from Volt Lithium? Again, soon to be Liberty Stream Infrastructure Partners. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate all of you guys joining us. And Alex, thank you for taking time while down in the oil fields in Texas to address some of these questions. There's still a lot of questions to go on. Hopefully we can plan another one of these over the next few months when you can share some more information with us, because look, there's clearly a lot of people paying attention here. They just want more answers. I think we all just want to see either revenue, funding, scale up. Those seem to be the next near-term catalysts. Time-wise, who knows when those are going to happen. But hey, Alex, thank you very much for taking some time and doing this for us.